Okay, Battle of Bunker Hill. All right, here we go. So, after Declaration of Independence, there's the Battle of Bunker Hill. This is what happened. I'm going to get out my map that is very wrong, I'm sure. All right, so you have the Battle of Bunker Hill. Oh, let me draw a better picture. All right. What happened was, before we get there, our guys came from all over, because we had the Minutemen, and we had, okay, and this was, Boston was occupied by the military, so we weren't meeting there. So we had our men coming from all over, and in the middle of the night, they all went to Bunker Hill. So in the middle of the night, after you couldn't be seen, late at night, they went to Bunker Hill. When they got to Bunker Hill, this is why it was so amazing, because General Gage said it would have taken my men months to do what they did. All of a sudden, my Battle of Bunker Hill has disappeared. I just had it. Oh my gosh. Let's see if it's on the back of one of these. Here we go. General Gage later said it would have taken my men, remember they had a lot of men, a lot of ammunition, a lot of resources, months to do what our guys did in one night. They knew they had to be finished by about 9 a.m. because that is when the sun was going to come, 5 a.m. That's when the sun was going to come up, and you'll see what a precarious position they were in. So here's Boston, the top of Boston Neck, okay? Or, here's Boston Neck and Boston. So this is where they are, and then here's the Charlestown River, and here is the hill. Okay. So here's the hill, and it was kind of sort of a hill. It's Bunker Hill and Breed's Hill. So they had, right here's the Charlestown River, and this is my pitiful, pitiful attempt at boats. I know, y'all. That is why my brother always drew boats for me when I did some papers on boats when I was like in junior high, and I remember he drew the pictures. Yeah, my terrible artist. All right, so there's all these military. Remember, they have cannons, they have weapons, they have everything you want to have, okay? So everybody's asleep. It's the middle of the night. So we go to Bunker Hill, and we do three things. We build breastworks, it's called. It's kind of like we take twigs and stuff, and then we twine them around with like any kind of like thread. So we, it's like sticks and twigs, and we make it's like little tiny walls that we can hide behind. Have you ever watched Bonanza and they're always hiding behind stuff? Like, and they're diving behind the like cattle feeder and stuff like that. Same thing. All right, so we make breastworks, we make walls, little walls, and redoubts. We're building things that we can hide behind. So we had to go to quickly work. So everybody's coming from all over. We're coming from Lexington. We're coming from all over, and all our men are. And they know they have to. They not only have to get there at a moment's time where these people aren't seeing people gather because it's a hill right in front of everybody, but they have to do it super quickly. So they get there and they're building all these things. Well, when the light comes up in the morning at 5 a.m., literally the light comes up. It's like a small city to them has been built. So it's like in the morning you go to bed and everything's quiet. And then in the morning you look in your backyard and you have a building back there. You're like, what just happened? I don't understand. So that's kind of what happened. So the light comes up and everybody goes, what? And there's walls and redoubts and breastworks and soldiers all occupying that hill. Now, this is a side note. We only had about 15 shots per soldier. And that is because we used everything we could to make bullets. We only had 15 shots. So we knew that we could not just shoot willy-nilly. We couldn't. We'd be out of ammunition. And we knew they had tons and tons and tons and tons of ammunition, cannons, whatever. So we knew there's nothing we can do. So we just have to save our 15 shots. So that's where the famous quote comes in, don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. Okay? And don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. So that meant they had to be so close before you fired. So can you imagine how scary that would be? So we're like, okay. So we had, we had the Minutemen, the militia, we had everybody combined. There was young men, there was old men, there was everybody. Okay, so what happened was, once they saw what was going on, they started sending their boats, getting the soldiers on and sending the boats over. And so you had all the redcoats at the bottom of the hill. Now, how do they march? They march in a straight line, right? At the bottom of the hill. So what advantage do we have? Of course, we can see everybody. So we were behind this first wall. We were behind. We had a strategy. So as they came up, we would wait till they got super close, which, by the way, very much unnerved them because we were getting closer and closer and closer, and we weren't shooting. They were shooting. We were not shooting because we were kind of hidden behind our walls and our breastworks and stuff. By the time they got super close, we shot and annihilated them. I mean, annihilated them. And so they retreated. Yes, retreated. Then you had a second wave of soldiers. They regrouped. They came up again. And we annihilated them. And by now we might have gone to the second wall area. I'm not sure. But we annihilated them again. And we moved positions. And later it was said by the Redcoats, like we moved very methodically. It wasn't like we were running. We were just, nope. It was like we were trained. And they were like, and I know they're not trained bunch of rebels. So we annihilated again. We annihilated them so much that all General Gage's main men, all his personal troop, the guys he had closest to him, every one of them were killed. Every one of them, not one living. So second time we annihilated them. And they were like, what in the world? They didn't know we only had 15 shots. And they're like, there's no way we can get up there. They're just going to keep annihilating us. Because, you know, even with cannons and stuff, they were trying to pull the cannons up the hill. We would just shoot the people. You have to have people to operate the cannons, right? And so we would just shoot them. Well, they decided to do one more run. And had they not decided to do one more run, we would have won the Battle of Bunker Hill. But they decided to do one more run. We were out of bullets. So we had determined that we were going to use the end of our guns. And they call that, oh my gosh, I usually know what that's called. But it's like anyway, they're using the end of the guns. I'll remember it in class. So they come up a third time, and by then we don't have any bullets. So we're using the end, we're using the end of our guns, and of course, they won. They ended up having more people wounded and killed, though, than we did. Okay? So, and when we moved back in a very orderly fashion, they said, and they were like, wow, you know, these people didn't run. They were very brave. And matter of fact, Dr. Warren was one of the people that stayed here when people retreated back, and he stayed and gave his all. So the people that stayed here when they were coming forward knew they're going to die, okay? So that is when Abigail Adams said, today liberty has been dealt a blow. Because Dr. Warren was killed. But that is the Battle of Bunker Hill. Had they not come up a third time, we would have won that battle hands down. At the end, like I said, many, many more of their men were killed than our men were killed. So that really is something. And also, it's kind of a point, I think, after Lexington and Concord, but then after the Battle of Bunker Hill, you know, the the Redcoats were kind of talking, and they were like, this is not going to be easy. They thought squashing these little bug Americans were going to be super, of course we weren't called Americans then, colonists, but they thought we were going to be super easy to squash. This was the biggest, brightest, strongest, most able military in the world. They were undefeated. Nobody messed with them. They were kind of like how the United States is now. Nobody really messed with them. And we were like little kids and, you know, britches and old men, and they just didn't get it. And but they had so much respect for us after that day, and we also had respect for them. Because 3 times they came up this hill knowing that we had all the advantage. We had all the advantage of position, and they were coming like into an open field, marching straight up as they do. We weren't marching straight up. We were hidden behind things, picking people off, like we learned in the French and Indian War. And so they had respect for us after that day. They said, oh, they're not cowards. Oh, okay, they didn't run and retreat. And we had respect for them. Wow, they came up knowing. They just saw that whole first wave annihilated, and they are still marching in a straight line knowing we can pick them off. So there was respect there on both sides, and I think everybody knew this is going to be a long war. And that day when his men came, when they told General Gage, all your men have died, can you imagine that conversation? So, all right, that is the Battle of Bunker Hill, and by the time I play the next video, I'll know who said what. I'm so sorry about that. I know I have a book about it, so I used to know it by heart, but then you get, you know, I don't know, you just forget over time. So I'll tell you who said what in just a minute. Captain Parker and Colonel Prescott.